Okay, so we are live, it says.
We are.
Okay, do you see it?
Yes.
Recorded. Perfect. Okay, we're good to go then. We are ready. It's always those first few seconds to get us set up. And here we are. Yay. Okay. Set up and ready to rock and roll. I'm so excited. Everybody, welcome to this episode of Playing to Win. I have been wanting to have this guest on my show for quite a while. And what I love about this guest is, notice this is a special time. Usually I do these at 10 a.m. Central, and this is 11 a.m. Central. And Gene Arant, welcome to the show, first of all. Gene Arant.
Pleasure to be here.
So happy here. Tell me why we are doing this at 11 instead of 10, because it was not because of my schedule.
If I could have pushed you even farther, we would go to 11:30. However, yes, 9/11 religiously, we are on the phones, lead generating, following up, texting, staying in touch with people. And so I set the example and make sure that I'm in the lead gen with the team every day.
I love that. I love that. So of course I would work my schedule around yours. So just thank you for your time. And I'm so excited to have you on the show. Gene, I've watched your career. You know, when I got to Austin, 12 and a half years ago, you were already a big deal. So I didn't see your very beginning stages, but I've also seen you grow tremendously in those 12 years. I've been in Austin. I've had you in a lot of, career visioning classes, and we've had a lot of conversations through the years of different stuff, but I'm just so honored about how you show up in the world. I think you're just one of the most humble people I know, and you're massively successful, and you're a family man, you're a kind person, you're all the things, and you're so dedicated to the art of what you do. So I'm really excited to have a conversation. And what I would like to share, because one of the things I got to do with you in one of my career visioning classes, remember we were just talking about this before we went live, is remember when I said, hey, Gene, can I do your life story in front of the room? Remember that?
Yes, of course.
And what was your answer?
You don't want to do that. It's boring.
You're like, yeah. You're like, no, it's boring. There are so many other more interesting people in the room. And I was like, I beg to differ. So we do your life story, and the whole room is just like wowed by you, because on paper, if we want to talk about KPAs or these personality assessments we have at Keller Williams that are so amazing, that make us different from all the other companies, at the time it would have been ABA, but the KPA, technically you weren't like the quote unquote typical match for a mega agent, right?
Not even close. Nope.
Not even close. And so, and yet, and all that is, people make too many judgments around those, right? That the KPA is a tool for people to better understand people. It's not to judge people or put them in categories. But after that life story, had I not had that conversation with you in the room about your journey, people would have no idea who you are. So I think, yeah, you're just an incredible guy. So I'm hoping we can give a little bit about that to the audience today, because I'm very excited about you being my guest today. So thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Well, let's start with who are you? Let's start with who are you? Who is Gene? Tell us a little bit about your background.
52-year-old who has 3 kids, empty nester. I have a daughter who just graduated last year in San Diego, and she is selling real estate in San Diego.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yes. Yeah, and
Good for
another
her.
daughter is a senior at A&M, and then a son that is just launched in San Diego as a freshman. So he just went there because she was there and he loved it. And,
I was going to say,
you can't blame him.
It is a great place. You can't blame him. I mean, once you've been to Southern California, you can understand why,
Yes. And then Susan and I have been together for 32 years.
Wow.
And so I've been in real estate, right? It's just entered my 30th year.
Oh my gosh.
23 of those years, the last 23 years with Keller Williams.
That's amazing. Okay, let's back up before that. What did you do? Where'd you grow up?
I was initially in Michigan, and then in 1981, we moved to Texas, and then just went to high school at Westwood here in Austin, and then went into junior college, or really community college, Austin Community College. And then Susan and I had saved up and we bought our first house, and doing that process, I really kind of liked it and didn't really have a career path of where I was going to go or what I was going to do. And fortunately, she had a job at an insurance company, so she could support me. So my first year, I think I made $11,000.
How old were you?
I was 22.
Okay. So what made you guys pick Austin?
It was just by luck, honestly. I moved here. My parents came here because my dad was in construction in the North, was dying. And so he came and instantly had work. And then Susan her parents, her mom and stepdad, he was kind of semi-retired military. We worked on helicopters, so he came here to work at the base. And
Okay.
so in high school, she moved here, and we met between her junior and senior year in high school.
Oh, so you met in when she was in high school still. Okay. Okay. Awesome. So then, so you're going to Austin Community College and then you decide, like, what made you get into real estate though?
Um, I just knew common sense, you know, not the smartest guy, but decent in common sense. I just, a lot of people that I had met or read about or this or that had built wealth through real estate, and whether they owned it, whether they invested in it. And so started reading some books and said, you know what, let's see if we can figure out how to buy an investment property. Um, but realistically, we didn't have that much money. We're trying to do the no money down thing. Met a broker. He said, man, you seem like you'd be good at this. You know, I'd sponsor you if you want to get your real estate license. And I was like, you'll sponsor me? I felt so special. Well, it turned out he was an alcoholic. His office was in his home, and he woke up at noon, and really no training. No, it was not a good thing.
Not the role model you were looking for.
No, not at all. I did not pick a winner there.
Did you start with him? Did you actually start with
Yes.
his
Oh, yeah.
company?
Yeah, I was with him I sold a couple of properties to friends. And then the second property I sold was out by Lake Travis. And the broker that was on the other side of that, I got to know, and we ended up buying our second home out in that direction, and interviewed with them, and was with a small boutique for 6 years before I joined KW.
Okay, awesome. And let's talk about what your team looks like today. Tell us what your team looks like and what kind of production you did either last year or whatever numbers you want to share with us.
Sure. Last year we sold 140 homes, did about 120 million. So we have a decent sale price. Our average sale price is over 800,000. We have 4 agents on the team, 2 inside salespeople, a client care manager. Susan also works on the back end, training, leading, and then we have a concierge, and then 2 virtual assistants.
I love it. You know, when you think about 120 million, though, I think that people would think that that's a lot bigger of a team. And what I hear you saying, there's a lot of infrastructure there, right? You have a lot of infrastructure and supportive staff, and only 4 agents.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, what we talk about around here is changing lives through real estate. And so that's both for the team members and for our clients. So in order to be able to do that and bring the experience that we want to bring, we've got to have, I've got to have some people around that can really, really specialize in bonus on relationships with people.
I love that. And that's what you consider your support staff to really have a big focus on?
Yes. Yeah. It's all about contribution, getting into bold and all that coming from contribution. That has been it's a very big part of our business, what we talk about.
It sure is. Yeah, that's a big thing for you guys. And I love that you brought up bold, and I want to talk about that with you a little bit as well, but I want to stay on this for a second. So because a lot of people think that they need to grow, like to hit the numbers they want to hit, they think they have to have a ton of agents, right? Like they need to have 20 agents or whatever. And yet with 4 agents in the right supportive staff, you can have a really big business, right?
100%. Yeah. It's about being productive, not having a lot of people around you.
Yeah, it's the quality, not the quantity, right?
100%.
All right, well, let's talk about that, because you are kind of the bold poster child, and we have this theme going. My last guest was Scott Toombs, and Scott is going to be our bold coach in October. And I'm trying to not make this timely, but so that anybody can listen anytime. However, we were talking about the market right now, and how, like, if not bold, then what? Like then
Sure.
what, right? Because you're seeing the numbers, it's challenging. And let's talk about like the market and why. Well, number one, what bold did for you. And then I want to talk about the changes that you've recently needed to make when the market shifted. So let's just talk about your story a little bit about bold, because I think that's a really, really cool story.
With bold, I took that in 2009 for the first time, and it was, we were in the Great Recession, and the market had really just stopped, and nobody was selling anything. And I went from October, because the stock market in 2008 in October just took a big old dump. It was bad. Just all my under contracts canceled. I didn't sell another house until March of 2009. And I started bold in that time frame, and doing that was really when the first time that I got better clarity on mindset, So when I'm calling somebody, I'm really clear that how I can help them, that I'm there to bring contribution. I'm there to be a resource versus, so I think a lot of people get on the phones and they're like, I'm bothering people. And so they have to realize, they've got a choice. Either they stay top of mind in people's minds and be a resource and be a great realtor and be a fiduciary for them, or they don't make the calls and those people end up possibly with a really horrible situation or a bad realtor or not a very good experience that you could have helped alleviate in the sense of, staying in touch. So getting your mindset around that. Obviously, skill set you work a lot on, right? You work your skill set a ton in Bold. And then just the action. Real estate's a contact sport, right? Gary says it all the time. And so making those 20 contacts a day, 5 days a week, all of a sudden in 2009, my business doubled. In 2010, I doubled my GCI from 400,000 to 800,000. And then the next year I did it again. I went to 1.6 million, which that was the first time I went over a million. And that was a small team. That was one buyer's agent, one assistant, and then one virtual assistant. And so, in doing that, it just changed the trajectory of my business, how I do it, how I teach other people to do it. And then with that, I kept taking Bold over and over and over again, as you know, right? And so
And any of them with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. You play all in too.
Yeah, you have to. So it's just really work on your skill set, mindset, and doing the actions. And then the business came, and it just, it launched us in a whole nother world.
Well, I think one of the things that's really important from that time, and Diana used to talk about this a lot, that you were this $400,000 producer. What was it? Whatever. She said another number, but you were like maxed at the 400,000. I forget how she said it, but it was something about the Bold experience that, like you said, and I've heard you say this, that it just kept you in like you said, the skill set, it kept you really focused on the activity right in front of you that brings actually the results, right? And that's why you've come back. And I didn't know that from October 2008 to March 2009, you didn't even have a closing.
Mm-mm. Nope. And I had 2 or 3 kids at home, and it was like, it was a little shaky for sure.
That was tough. And so, and then Bold came into your life, and Bold only worked because you did the work, right? Like, let's not kid ourselves. We all know it worked because you worked, and it's like anything in life, you got to show up and do the work. But you think about
one thing real quick. I'm so sorry. I just looked at my computer. I need to put it on charge. 2 seconds.
Oh, it's gonna. Okay, everybody stay tuned. Gene will be right back, or we are going to lose him. If you've not taken Bold is this 8-week accountability class we have here at Keller Williams, and it stands for Business Objective Life by Design. And the intentionality is you're in activity every day, and you're on a team of like 10 people, and you're making, you're reaching out, you're doing all the things that you need to do. So you're creating habits around it. And a lot of people would talk about how Gene was kind of maxed out at this $400,000 income level. And even though you coached with Gary and stuff, I was just educating our listeners while you're getting your charger. And then all of a sudden you get in this environment where you're doing these activities every day, right? And all of a sudden, like you said, then year over year, you just started going from 400,000. Now you had the breakthrough to 800, and then it went to 1.6, right? And I think that's really interesting, because you can have coaches, you can have all the things, you can go to the seminars, but unless you're in this incubator environment of accountability and you play all in, I mean, that's what it's all about, right? You see lives changed in that room when the people are ready to change.
Yes, exactly.
But you have to be willing to change, right? So so for you, was it a matter of just getting the whole coming from contribution changed? Because it's also the conversation you have, right? You're right. It's a lot of mind play. It's a lot of like, I have to, get myself going so I can actually go make the calls and all that stuff. So did you shift that early on, or is that more of a recent thing in the last few years that you had this coming from contribution? Like, I want to help the people because I know that I'm going to have their best interests in mind. I know I'm the best agent to help them. Like, was that your mindset from pretty early on, or did that come later?
I think I just naturally had a certain amount of ethical responsibility that I wanted to help people. And I wasn't ever really going after the commission, even though obviously that was important. But Bold put it in a whole different perspective, right? You really concentrate on what's important to you and how you can grow your business. And when you realize that you just keep bringing value, and one thing that felt comfortable for me too is that I could make the phone call. When I made the phone call, if I brought value in the phone call, then it felt great to hang up and call them back a month later, right? So I was always asking the questions of how I can help you, what's going on in your life. The interesting thing is that doing it in 2009 and taking it over and over and over again, and again, taking it over 20 times at this point. And so, but you're right. It kept me, what I noticed when I took it the first time, had a great success, but I really started going back to my old habits, right? Pretty quickly. I was busy. And then all of a sudden my natural habits were to pull back. And that's just how I was built. And so that's when I jumped back into Bold, and then boom, had success again. And I'm like, okay, I need to keep doing this right now until I can reprogram myself not to fall back into not making the phone calls, thinking, oh, okay, I've got several things on the books. I don't have to keep, going. And so it really just reconditioned my brain to create a new consistency in lead generation that I'd never had before. And then the skill set came with that. And the blessing that came out of that was, when you're talking about coming from contribution, and in the Great Recession, people are losing their homes. People are coming to closing with money, big checks. I tell the story, I sold a house in Pflugerville for $150,000, and they came to closing with $24,000.
Oh
They
my
had to borrow it from their parents, right?
Wow.
They had to borrow it. And so if I wasn't there to help a certain amount of people that I could help, a lot of people have lost their homes, wouldn't have made good decisions, would have overpriced things. So just, getting your skill set right. So today's market, I'm back into the market. I've been out of the market in the sense for 5 years with the team taking listings and helping buyers. Now I'm back on helping sellers make right decisions, because it's a transitional market. And so I was really the only one in the skill set in the team to really understand, how do you go from motivation and only work with the motivated? Because I can list a lot of properties, but it's going to put me out of business, because we know on average we spend about $4,600 per listing in order to be able to pre-market it, market it, stage it, whatever it is, pictures, video, man hours. And so I can put myself out of business real quick if I'm not selling anything and I'm just listing something. And so having that skill set that came out of that time frame, helping people in a really terrible time, set me up for today's newest market.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up, Gene, because it was a skill market back in the day, right? And when you and I kind of got going in the market, and you had to have this skill set, and it's like that was the norm. And anybody that didn't have this skill set, they weren't doing any business, right? And so now you fast forward to today, we're back in that. It's just different. It's a different market. It's not exactly the same, because it's more interest rate driven and other reasons, what's happening in the economy, but very different. It's not a housing crash per se, but it's different, but the skill set is back. And so I just want to make sure that our listeners just heard, you'd been leveraged out of the business. You had replaced yourself. You were like that 7 level almost, because I think you're still the CEO, right? So you're probably level 6.
Yes, level 6.
Okay, level 6, and you're still running the team, but you're just not going on appointments anymore, right? And you hadn't done that in 5 years. And now when the market shifted, when did it shift for you mostly? Was it about last May?
This time last year, we really started seeing it changing. And then we really started getting lean and mean on our expenses through the fall of last year. And then the beginning of the year, it was just the listings weren't coming, things weren't selling. We were negative cash flowing. And I'm like, okay, I've got to get back in here. I've got to feel it. I got to talk to the clients. I have to hear the objections one-on-one. So I knew, how I could lead the team on how to best help people.
Yeah. So you step back in and you're doing the listings now?
Correct. Yep. I've gone on 80 listings and taken, I think 60 or so far this year. And there's a lot more I could have taken. Again, it didn't make sense. The motivation doesn't match the market.
Yeah, if the motivation doesn't match the market, that's really tricky. And I love that you know what the cost per listing is for you, right? Because if it's $4,600 per listing, and we talk about listings, listings is that where it's at, and it is. We will never go away from it, but it's the motivated listings, the people that actually want to sell, that will have the home price right in the condition that it needs to be in to sell, right? Those are all the things that come into play. So you think about carrying 10 listings at a time. I mean, at your cost per thing, that's $46,000 out of pocket at any given time.
Yep. Yep. And it's all on the front end. You don't get paid until it closes. So
Exactly. So what are some of the things that you look for on listings you'll take on? Like, how can we help sellers decide if they're going to move forward or not right now in this market?
it's really just going deep into their motivation, like what's best for them. Like I have somebody I met with this past week. They bought their house last year. I think it was $440,000. And today's market's about 400. So they're going to lose about, well, I guess they paid 420 because minus commissions, it's about $40,000 loss. No, they sold their house last year and made a ton of money when they bought this one. The thing is that he is now working in South Austin to San Antonio every day, and he lives in Georgetown. So he's driving an hour plus every day and driving back an hour plus every day. And he doesn't foresee that changing at any time in the next few years. And so we're just looking at it going, okay, yes, you're going to take a loss here. However, down here in this new construction, we can see the builders, they used to be priced here. Now they're priced here. So you're winning in that sense. Yes, the interest rate's higher than it was last year, but not crazy. We can work the builders are working some incentives on interest rates, right? So it's really coming back going, okay, what's most important to you? Getting 3 hours back a day after day after day, it's 15 hours a week of your life, or not losing $40,000 in your house. So, that's, and for and so some people are like, there's no way I'm losing money in the house, and they're not going to move, and you're not going to change their mind. And I'm not going to list it for something that is going to not sell. So, however, I do believe that in my skill set and having a conversation with him, he understands that, 2 years from now, that $40,000 is not going to feel like a loss, right? It's going to feel like a great gain because I've gotten so much time back from my family.
Well, what's the quality of the time exactly that you're missing with your family and that driving time, right? Like what is that value? And I love that. But here's the thing is, had he not had a Gene Arant in his life to help him like see through that and make that decision, he might not have done it, right? He might have just said, oh, I'm not going to lose the money, I'm just going to stay. And then the quality of life and things can happen, whatever, right?
Yep.
So, but that's again where that skill set comes into play.
Yep. And it's just, the older you get, especially going into my 50s, I realize time is really important. And when you're younger, you think you've got so much of it. As the older you get, you realize, you can't get it back. And so the more I can guide people to really be, put that as a priority for them and their families and themselves and their health, the better I feel.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. What other things are you doing differently right now when the market shifted for you here in Austin? I mean, you got back into sales. Anything else that you're doing differently? Did you have to cut back on any staff or anything like that? Did you?
We did that mostly in the fall. There's a couple of things that we really analyzed and got rid of. I think one thing that was important is I've got a MAPS coach, and so we've been he's been, he tracks our business. And in May, he said, hey, starting June 1st, do you want to, with my other coaching clients, have a competition and do 45 listings in 90 days? And I'm like, heck yeah, I need that. I need a goal like that. And so we just finished that, July 31st, and we ended up with 35 listings. And so we didn't hit the 45. However, we took more listings in a 3-month than we'd done all year. And so we just recommitted and launched a new one, as of September 1st. And so, but the way that was powerful is that he actually got on a group Zoom with the team, and he said, hey, Gene and I are talking about this challenge, and let's write out all the positive things that would happen if you hit the 45 listings, right? And so obviously obviously one's income, right? It's camaraderie. Everybody gets to keep their job on the team. Listings breed more listings, bring more buyers. Just the energy is going to be better. Fear is going to leave the building. we just went on and on and on and on. It was just something that brought us all together and looked at it and go, okay, why would we not do this? Right. And so anyway, that was just a powerful exercise that, again, on my own, I wish I would came up with it, but that's why he gets paid the big bucks to coach me.
Well, that's why you have a coach, right? They help us see our blind spots. Did you say 45 listings in 45 days was the challenge?
90 days.
Okay, I thought you said 90. Okay, 45. Okay, 45 listings in 90 days and you hit 35. Now, when you took those listings, did it change at all your standard? Did it change at all your standard? Because we just talked about, you don't take every listing, because every listing, I mean, that's 35 times 4,600.
Sure.
So those are obviously all listings you will sell. Did that change at all for you?
No, we still talk about sellability in that sense. I think what changed is that, in the kitchen here, it's on the board, right? We know exactly how many listings we have. We know who took them. We know, how far we are on our goal. Are we tracking ahead of our goal? In the sense of, basically we need a listing every 2 days, right? And so are we tracking ahead? Are we a day behind? Are we 2 days behind? Are we 4 days ahead? And then everybody knows when we take a new listing and everybody's excited, right? And so before it was like, I came back with a new listing and maybe the team knew about it, maybe they didn't, for a day or two. So anyway, so just everybody getting behind each other.
Well, I love that. And that's something about when you get everybody, how do you get everybody on the same page? Gary Keller always says that, right? If there isn't one page for us all to get on, and part of that is knowing what's happening and knowing, when you are bringing in a listing and celebrating it, or when something sells or whatever, right? And I think that getting because we all have ownership in it. Anybody in your world, right, has ownership on the success or failure of the team, right?
100%.
Yeah. And the more you lead with that, the more impactful it is, because it's a we thing, right? It's like Gary talked about me go and we go kind of thing.
That's it.
Like it's all we win together. Well, okay. My question, Gene, that I ask all my guests is, what does playing to win look like for you?
Playing to win to me is, a consistency in having enough conversations with people that they're winning and you're winning, and working on it's one thing to show up and go to work and kind of move around and have some conversations. It's another thing to show up intentional with, you already know who you're going to call, you already know the message of the market, you know how to bring value. And that just takes time to work on it and skill set. And so, playing to win is just doing that consistently day after day after day. We've had team members that could do it for a day or two and then disappear for a day or two and then show up a day or two. And then, and it shows up, and we actually track all of our dials, our contacts, our appointments. And so if somebody has a goal of making 100 contacts a week and say, say, 2 appointments or 4 appointments or 5 appointments. But just simply by looking at their dials to their contacts, and if they only hit 50 contacts, so they're only at 50% of their goal, they're usually at 50% of their income goal. It just translates right down. And so they can just see it. So there's a dashboard that we go over with each person and just saying, here's your dashboard. You're at 30% of your goal this week. How are you going to get that up? Because that means you're at 37% of your income that you're going to earn. And so just being focused on that, because it's really simple. It's just that it's not easy, right? We have so many distractions today, 30,000 distractions a day. They're filtered through just in, phone, whatever. Yeah. And so how are you going to protect 2 to 3 hours a day to make sure that you consistently touch people in a meaningful way, that when they think of real estate, they think of you? That's it.
Gene Arant, when I think about a word that I would describe you, one of them would be consistency, no doubt, right? You are such a great role model of consistency. How do you, because again, when you bring people into your world, you don't know until they show up and live with you and work with you, like how they're really going to show up, right? How do you create that environment of, like you said, they'll show up for 2 days and do it, and then they're gone for 2 days. Like, how do you create an environment that like you said, that transparency, I believe, is the answer, but consistency is one of your greatest gifts, consistency and the skills that you have. How do you lead with that? Right.
So we, as you know, we joined a place and have that platform, right? And so we already had an agent launch. And so we took our agent launch, took their agent launch, and now in order for you to join our team, you have a 7-day boot camp of all these things you have to do before you start day one. And so a chunk of the time, people are like, hey, yeah, I want to join your team. Great, here you go. Just start doing these things, put this together, gather 200 people so you can get them into the database. And they call and go, yeah, I just don't think this is a match. Right.
Yeah.
And so then when they join the team, if they've done all that, then they've got 90 days of a pretty intense, here's the things you have to do. Here's the things you have to learn. Here's your buyer presentation. Here's how you test out of the buyer presentation before you get a buyer lead. Here's the listing presentation. Here's how you test out a listing presentation before you get a listing lead. So it's just, now we put all the pressure on the front end, and you make it through that front end, you're going to be golden, because that means you've got the grit, you got the desire to get out there and learn, touch people, make contacts. That's where we've changed things over the years, where we realized hoping somebody shows up in a powerful way and has grit has now been eliminated. You don't even get to show up day one if you haven't done.
Wow. That's intense. I love that. That is so cool, because you have to show up, right? You have to, I love that. Go through the 7-day training, up with all the tasks and the different things. And so how many people do you think actually make it to that point that you think you want to hire to your team and actually make it to actually getting the invitation to join because they jump through all those hurdles for you?
So the ones that get invited, first of all, we go through dozens of people that we talk to before we even get to that. And then it's about, I would say 30%. 30% make it through the first week. So, and I want to bring something back about consistency. I was born and put into a situation where I did work at a young age for a long time. So I have a work ethic, right?
Yeah.
However, my willpower and my self-sabotage is still real, right? And so I've only got so much willpower, and I have a certain amount of self-sabotage. And so, you and I have a mutual friend, Tony DeSello, who was coaching me back then. And when my career launched and things really took off after in 2013, when the recession was finally over, and I had 15 listings on the market, and they sold the same day. I mean, the same month. They all sold 1 month.
Wow.
The market changed overnight. It was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And
We're
so
back.
by June, I'd made more money that year, that's in the first half of the year, than I did the previous year in 2012. And so I was like, holy crap, man, I really kicked butt. I think I need some time off. I think I need to take a month, maybe. I'd like maybe go to Europe for a month. I mean, it'd be, and Tony's like, Gene, you're self-sabotaging yourself. You are absolutely self-sabotaging the second half of the year. And so he made me realize that by looking up and going, you know what, that is my pattern. My pattern as a real estate agent for, at that point, at least 15 years, had been get some things under contract, back off my lead gen, or try to figure out how to find a new client, and then go, oh crap, I'm feeling a little nervous about my future income, and get back into it, hustle and do open houses and all that. And so by getting into consistency of the lead gen, they eliminated that. There is no valleys. I don't have now, don't get me wrong, there are some, but 90% of the time, I'm very even, income's there. I don't have to worry about, what next month looks like. So, and it really comes down to 20 conversations a day. That's it. If I could say anything to anybody, please just have 20 meaningful real estate conversations today, and then do it again tomorrow, and then do it again tomorrow. And then what's going to show up 2 months from now or 2 weeks from now is a crap load of work, because people are going to be calling you back, and then you have to create a new system, and then you keep doing it, and then you have to create a new system, because you have so many people that want to talk to you about real estate.
That's so good. I wrote down willpower and self-sabotage, in creating that, like you didn't just naturally have that consistency in you. And I think because people can't really relate sometimes to people that are at your level of production and how successful you are. And they're like, oh, he's doing all this stuff and he's done it forever and all this stuff. So people make reasons why they don't relate to that. And so I love how transparent you are on that, on willpower and self-sabotaging yourself. Like, that about yourself. And I think we all can relate to that. And we have this, gosh, so many of us have it. If not all of us, I think, unless we've really disciplined ourselves, but we have this false illusion that we got this, right? Because now things are happening, and somehow we got that airplane off the ground, so we never need to use that again, right? Because now we're just going to fly, but we forget, oh wait, you have to tank the plane, or you have to, even a Tesla, you have to charge it, right? You have to keep consistent on that, right? To have those kind of results. So for you, every morning from 9 to 11, you're in there, and just by creating that bunker for yourself, you're avoiding all self-sabotaging temptations or having reasons why it's not going to work for you. And that's why Gary Keller always says, right, do the first thing in the morning. If that's your energy in the morning, do it first. Get up and go and get that done, and you have the whole rest of the day.
Yes, 100%. And I have no willpower in the afternoon. I have no willpower. It dies after 2:00. And so that's why I work out before I go to the office, because I have no willpower. My wife, 4 or 5 o'clock, she's off to the gym. There ain't no way. I am so done.
Yeah.
There's no way you'd have to drag me to the gym for me to go at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Some people are great, but for me, I got to get up early, get it knocked out, and then start my day. And then sure, I might fade quicker in the afternoon, but I just don't have the willpower. And I know that.
And you know that, and everybody, some people are like, oh, I just can't do the morning thing. I'm a terrible morning person, but I get all my energy after 2:00. Great. Then build it, whatever it is, it's be consistent and set yourself up so you don't self-sabotage. You don't come up with, because, as the day goes, I personally believe that as the day goes, this fire comes out, you got a closing, you got to jump through hoops for whatever. There's always reasons to not do something. But if you make it so clear, like when you and I took us a couple months to find a spot that worked for you to do this with me, and the time that worked for you, it's just a non-negotiable. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know that about you. Yes, absolutely. We'll do 11 o'clock, anything to get time with Gene Arant. But the 20, it comes down to 20 convos a day, which is ironic that it leads back to the bold stories. What we started on is the environment that set you up was that consistency of 7 weeks in a room where you had people to report to, and you had people to say, I did it or I didn't do it.
Yep. There's kind of accountability there. Yep. And that was, I paid for it, right? I spent $800 to go into a room to be held accountable, to make phone calls and to work on my skill set and to practice my conversations with a role play partner. Right. And just by doing that consistently for a couple of years, it changed the trajectory of my business forever.
Amazing how that
You can't
impacted
throw anything at me, any kind of objection that I can't overcome.
Yeah.
It's just not possible.
I believe that. Yeah. I believe that. I see it, and you live that. For the last few minutes that we have, I would love to talk about, I know that coming from contribution is really important to you. And do you want to share a little bit about why that's important to you and how that's just such a part of who you are?
Sorry, my wife is wanting my keys.
Oh, hey, Susan.
I think I really am so blessed that, I got a great wife, great family. Being in Austin, Texas, it, was a blessing. There's a really big book out right now, the Almanac by Novel Ravikant. I don't know if you've heard that or not, but he talks about in there, and I've shared this with my kids, that people spend so much time, they don't spend enough time when, you get out of college or get whatever, in picking the city that you're going to go to and the employer that you're going to work for. And Gary talks about, he's always worked for a millionaire, right? So he's blessed that he worked for somebody who was a big thinker or whatever. And so that sets a trajectory for the rest of your, often for the rest of your career, as to what city you just happen to end up in. And so I just got so freaking lucky that I was in Austin, Texas, it's always been doubling in population every 20 years since the year 1900. So for 120 years, the freaking city keeps doubling in size. That means there's a lot of buyers and sellers that keep showing up. As long as the Austin Board of Realtors doesn't keep doubling in size, I'm okay with that. So anyway, so just,
I get up a little bit this year.
I realized that, what, I just, things could have been a lot different, and my natural tendencies of being a little lazy here, a little that, or whatever. And my mom, meeting my stepdad in a bar, and growing up with this alcoholic who was not the best dad, but hell, he put me to work. And so we worked and worked. And so I could sit there and go, you know what? I didn't have a very good dad. And that sucked. And man, life could have been better if I would have had somebody encouraging me. But on the other side, I can look at him and go, you know what? I don't know how not to work. The dude just put it in me. And so I'm just going to show up and I'm going to, I may not be the smartest, but I'm probably going to outwork you. And so that is my blessing. So you got a choice, right? We all have our choices of how we look at any situation, good or bad. And so you can choose it to learn from it, move forward, or you can sit there and sulk and just freaking die in misery. So I don't know. I was just blessed with just crap rolling off my back and be able to move forward. And so I realized that, and it's a gift, and I'm just going to, be thankful for it.
Is that why you think you're so giving to other people though and stuff? And why you're just such a natural, like, giver to people? I mean, if anybody needs anything, and you give to your community big time, you're such a family guy. Like, do you think that's where you learned all that? Because no one taught you that? Because you just seem to me like somebody that's contribution's a big thing for you.
Oh, it's just something there that just says, it's not about me. And believe me, Gene Arant team, there's plenty of branding. It's all about me. Don't get me wrong in that sense. But there's, I don't know, it just gives me a good feeling. I tell people, if I could be, people say, well, if you could do anything, what would you do? If I could do anything, I'd be freaking Oprah Winfrey. I would just be able to say their people's names, say something about their book, and change their life, right? Load up a car, buy them a new house, help their kids go to college. I mean, I think she's got the best job in the whole world. Now, where did she come from, right? I mean, her story is amazing. Like, you're talking about grit. I mean, she's got 20 times the grit I've ever had. So, but anyway, so that someday that's going to be my job.
When you were a little boy growing up where you grew up and in this environment that you're in, did you ever have dreams of being successful to the level that you are today?
Oh, I think somehow or another, I thought it was possible. I didn't really know what that looked like or how it would get there. And again, I think that's why I'm so, I wouldn't say, that's why I'm appreciative, is because I can see how easily I could have gone just down this other road. And man, it just, the opportunity, because I don't have a college education. And quite frankly, I don't tell people this, but I don't even have a high school education. I'm one credit short of having a high school diploma. I don't even have a GED. And it's just like, I think I've told my family that, but it's just one of those things that at this point,
it's out there now, unless you want me
you're
to
50
edit
years
it out.
old, you're successful. Now it's kind of like a badge of honor. Like, oh yeah, I didn't finish high school, but I did go to college. That's the crazy thing. I made my way into Austin Community College by saying I was going to go finish that last credit. I just never did.
I was going to ask how you were able to pull that one off and get into ACC, right? And you just, because already then you had great persuasive skills on how to move people forward, because you got yourself in that classroom.
Yep. Absolutely.
I just love your story so much. And this is why I wanted the world to get to know you, because I think you're one of the most humble, consistent people. And one thing I just want to publicly also just applaud you for is your loyalty to Keller Williams. And same here. People say, how could I be a team leader for 16 years, right? When the average team leader is 2 years in. I have such great loyalty to this company because I was talented before I came to Keller Williams, and yet I've become a different person in all the things around me at Keller Williams, right? And I see that in you, and I see how, I know that you get hit up all the time to go here, and you've been offered all kinds of stuff. And you and I have talked about some of the rumors, right? And you're like, it's not true. So I just want to thank you, because I think I tell people there's such an honor about being loyal to the people that help you become who you are. I just really, I value that about you greatly.
Yeah. And again, talking about right place, right time, right? Austin, Texas, 100%. What a blessing that I got to be part of the Bold pilot program, because Keller Williams started in Austin, Texas. So I got to be a guinea pig. And so the guinea pig worked, right? And so holy crap, to see the company when I joined, it was 9,000 agents, and now it's, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands, 180, whatever.
Yeah.
And just, again, what a man, that is so cool. That is so cool that that I had that opportunity. But yeah, the company itself, Gary writing the book, just laying out the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, and just, the Bible of our industry, and really of any sales industry, should be reading that book and just saying, hey, how do I implement this? And so it comes down to math. You understand the math. Once you understand the math about how to build your business, how many contacts to make, conversations to have, listing appointments to go on, closings to have, all that fun stuff, average sale price, boom, boom, boom. Then it comes down to skill set. How are you going to actually get those conversions? And we talk about 20 conversations a day. I don't have to have 20 conversations a day anymore. My conversations today are way more skilled than they were 10 years ago. Right. I didn't have five or 10. And I've already pulled, multiple appointments or future appointments out of the conversations of going down a path of not just this one person, but who else do they know that I should know? Right. Or, how else can I bring value to somebody else that that would enjoy working with us like we work with you? And so going back, somebody starting off, they may not be 20 conversations a day, they may be 50.
Exactly. Right? That's what I was going to say. Their conversion could be completely different, right? It could be 30, 40, 50. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but it's only for an amount of time until they have enough mind share where there's enough people when they think of real estate, they think of you.
Yeah. That's so cool. And that's working towards mastery, right? When you've done this so long and you're consistent and you're doing it every day. Like you said, there's no objection somebody could throw at you that you couldn't handle. So I just wanted to tell you, I admire you greatly for that. And I think there's a lot of really amazing people with big lives. And it's because of what they've done, but it's also, I love that they show gratitude to the environment that they're in. And you're somebody at the very top of that list that I really appreciate about you. What's your last thought that you'd like to share with our listeners today on anything at all? What's the last thought you'd like to leave with our listeners today?
I think one thing that I keep seeing over and over again, I've heard it throughout life, but it just seems like it's resonating really strong right now, is it's all about short-term pain for long-term gain, period. Short-term pain for long-term gain. And, I grew up 100% wanting something shiny and new and this and that, and not wanting to wait for it, and, credit cards and, different things like that. But later in life, you realize, what? It's about, you're going to appreciate it more by putting a little pain into it in the front end and on the back end. It's just like working out, right? It's spend an hour, 45 minutes a day. It sucks. Nobody loves doing it. Very few people just love going to work out or gym or cardio, whatever it is. But man, long term, your life is going to be, the quality of life is going to be so much better, right? Same thing with food. Like, oh man, that chocolate cake looks awesome. Short term, it's going to feel great, but long term, it's going to kick your butt, and you're going to have diabetes, and you're just not going to have quality of life. So you have to make those decisions. Short term, it hurts to get up and lead generate. Long term, holy crap! I got a lot of lifelong clients that are going to continue to send me business, but I got to have that short term pain during the day, which is 1 to 2 hours to 3 hours of consistent conversations about real estate.
So good. Gene Arant, I just adore you. I thank you so much for your hour that you shared with us today, and just keep being a great role model to all of us. And I just appreciate you so much.
You're welcome. And you keep up doing what you do, because you bring energy and enthusiasm for others at a whole other level that not a lot of people have. So I appreciate you.
Well, fist bump. You're awesome.
Bam. Oh, hey.
Okay. Go make it happen, my dear. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening. See you next time, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.